Thanksgiving had always been my sister Caroline's holiday. Every year she hosted it at her polished suburban home in Connecticut, where everything looked like it belonged in a magazine. Gold trim plates, custom name cards, and her perfectly bronzed turkey sitting like a trophy in the center of the table. Growing up, she had always needed to be the center of attention, and Thanksgiving was her Super Bowl. Even after I built my own life, after years of struggling through college loans, failed startups, and eventually building a tech consulting firm that changed everything, she still treated me like the little brother who got lucky. This year felt different, though. I had just closed the biggest deal of my career and recently purchased a $2 million estate in Vermont. It wasn't flashy in a showy way, but it was breathtaking. A 40-acre property surrounded by maple trees, a glass-walled dining hall overlooking the mountains, fireplaces in every major room, and a long wooden harvest table imported from Italy. For once, I felt proud, not competitive, not defensive, just proud. When November rolled around, I waited for Caroline's traditional Thanksgiving group text. It always came the first week of the month. But this time, nothing. I assumed she was busy. A week later, still nothing. I called our mom casually and asked what time dinner would be this year. There was a pause on the other end of the phone. "Oh, honey," she said carefully. "Caroline told everyone you were traveling this year." Traveling? I hadn't planned any trip. That's when I found out. She hadn't just forgotten to invite me. She had told the entire family I declined because I was too busy with my new money lifestyle. She painted me as the arrogant sibling who outgrew family traditions. And the worst part? Everyone believed her. I sat in my Vermont living room staring at the mountains, feeling something I hadn't felt since childhood, erased, not excluded by accident, but intentionally removed. Caroline didn't just want Thanksgiving. She wanted control of the narrative. She wanted to remind everyone that no matter how successful I became, she could still decide where I stood in the family. But sitting there, watching the early snow dust the trees, I realized something. I wasn't a struggling younger sibling anymore. I wasn't dependent on her invitation. And for the first time, I didn't need a seat at her table. I had my own. The idea came quietly. At first it felt petty. Then it felt powerful. If Caroline wanted Thanksgiving to be exclusive, I would redefine what inclusive meant. I drafted a message, not confront her, but to the rest of the family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even old family friends. "Hey everyone," I wrote. "I heard there may have been confusion about my Thanksgiving plans. I'll actually be home at my Vermont place this year, and I'd love to host anyone who wants to come. Plenty of space. No pressure. Just good food and good company." I hit send before I could overthink it. The response shocked me. Within an hour, my phone lit up nonstop. My cousin Jake wrote, "Wait, you're hosting? In Vermont? That sounds amazing." My Aunt Linda said she hadn't missed a Vermont autumn in years. Even my grandparents called, curious and excited. Apparently, Caroline's Thanksgiving had become rigid, structured, scheduled down to 15-minute segments. Kids couldn't run inside. Wine was limited. Conversations were carefully steered away from anything controversial. It was less family gathering and more performance. I didn't promise perfection. I promised warmth. Bonfires outside. Kids building snowmen. A hot chocolate bar. Fireplaces roaring all day. A private chef I hired, not to impress, but to help me focus on hosting instead of stressing. Within 3 days, 15 family members confirmed they were coming. And then Caroline called. Her voice was sharp. "What exactly are you doing?" "Hosting Thanksgiving." I replied calmly. "You know I already planned everything." "I didn't know," I said. "You told everyone I wasn't coming." Silence. Then, "You're dividing the family." That word stung. Dividing. But I hadn't divided anything. I had simply opened a door she tried to close. By the end of the week, the guest list grew to 23 people. Not everyone chose my estate, but enough did that something shifted. For the first time, Thanksgiving wasn't automatically hers. It was a choice. And people chose me. Thanksgiving morning in Vermont looked like a movie scene. Snow rested gently across the rolling fields. Smoke curled from the stone chimneys. And the sunrise painted the mountains pink and gold. I woke before everyone else and walked to the house, adjusting candles, checking the long dining table, and feeling something deeper than satisfaction. I felt peace. Guests began arriving around 10 a.m., bundled in scarves and laughter. The estate didn't feel like a flex. It felt alive. Kids ran across the property. My uncle started a football game in the yard. My grandmother sat near the fireplace telling stories from her childhood. No assigned seats. No forced gratitude speeches. Just organic, loud, imperfect family energy. The dining hall was the centerpiece. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the snowy mountains. The 18-foot harvest table was filled with traditional dishes. Roasted turkey, maple glazed carrots, mashed potatoes, stuffing, cranberry sauce, but also personal touches. My mom's old pumpkin pie recipe. My grandfather's favorite pecan tart. Small name cards. Not to sign status, but with handwritten notes thanking each person for something specific they brought into my life. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzed. It was a photo from a cousin who had chosen Caroline's dinner. The table looked pristine. Silent. Staged. Then another message followed. This feels different this year. I looked around my table, at gravy spilling, kids laughing too loud, my aunt arguing playfully about politics with my dad, and I understood something powerful. Wealth didn't create this. Space did. Freedom did. Later that night, we lit a massive bonfire outside. Snow fell lightly as everyone gathered around. My grandfather raised a glass and said, "This feels like family again," and that was worth more than the house itself. The fallout wasn't explosive. It was quiet, and that made it more significant. The next morning, social media filled with photos. 2 Thanksgivings. 2 very different atmospheres. One polished, one joyful. Caroline didn't call immediately, but a week later, she showed up at my Vermont estate unannounced. No dramatic entrance. No anger. Just tired. "I didn't think they'd choose you," she admitted. It wasn't about the estate. It wasn't about money. It was about control. For years, she had defined herself as the organizer, the successful one, the pillar. My growth felt like a threat to her identity. I didn't want to compete. I told her. I just didn't want to be erased. That conversation didn't magically fix everything, but it shifted something. The following year, Thanksgiving became co-hosted, alternating locations, shared planning. What started as exclusion became evolution. And here's the truth. The $2 million estate was a revenge. It was a reminder, to myself most of all, that I never needed permission to belong. Sometimes the most powerful response to being erased isn't confrontation. It's building a table so big that no one can control who gets a seat.